information, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Hello there. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the interview series here at Neuroculture. I am your host, Ryan, and our guest this week is actor, producer, director, so many other things that this young man has done in such a short amount of time. He is the one and only James Pomichter. James, welcome to the show. How are you on this Friday?
Oh, doing great. Glad to be here. By the way, I love your intro.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That is created by Josh Bauer of J. Bauer Art. He is the man behind all that wonderful goodness that you saw a few moments ago with the intro. So thank you for the feedback. I'll be sure to pass it on to Josh. And Josh, if you're watching, thanks, man. We love you. So once again, James, thank you so much for being with us. Now, to kind of dive right into this here, what were some of your favorite movies or TV series when you were growing up?
Oh, that's a fun one. I got to say, one of my all-time favorites is Indiana Jones. Really big fan of kind of action-adventure. And I was a Star Wars fan as a kid, but I think I was more into that action-adventure drama genre than I was than the sci-fi early on. Nowadays, it's kind of coming back, like more sci-fi is coming in, but I'd say Indiana Jones, Goonies. I mean, who doesn't like Goonies, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they never say die. I'm sensing a pattern here with some of these characters or properties. Does this, let me think, is this the 1980s we're talking about?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, you can see where my influence comes in there.
No, I got no problem with it. Full disclosure, when I go to Comic-Cons when Earth was open before the situation with the pandemic, I did cosplay as Indiana Jones, so you're amongst family here when it comes to the Jones family. Very nice. Very nice. So, no worries there. Any TV series pop out at you, some of your favorites that were growing up?
Well, growing up, yeah, I mean, okay, here we go again. Saved by the Bell was a fun after school favorite.
Mm-hmm. Time out. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, Animaniacs, I got to say, was popular. I mean, I was in high school watching Animaniacs. I mean, cartoons were a good source of good entertainment back then. Nowadays, I'm more into kind of post-apocalyptic type stuff, and I don't know if that's influenced by our current world predicament, but the Walking Dead, all the different Walking Dead series are kind of on my, favorite list right now.
All right. I like this. I like that. I mean, granted, there's like 3 or 4 kind of Walking Dead series now. I mean, there's a spinoff of the spinoff of the spinoff now. It's just,
exactly. It's like, where am I in the universe here?
It's kind of hard to keep up with. Now, granted, I've watched a few seasons of Fear the Walking Dead, but after a season or two, I was thinking to myself, yeah, there's other series I got to focus on. I can't do this anymore. Too many zombies. Thanks. I'm gonna walk over this way. No worries.
Yeah, right? The fun thing with these shows is that they start off with a lot of zombies, and it's calamity of the zombies, and then they get into more drama stuff, and then you kind of lose the zombie for a minute, and then it's like, wait a minute, the show's supposed to be about a zombie apocalypse, and then they bring back the zombies for another season. They're like more stuff into it. So with these spin-offs now, we'll see what else they explore, but keeps us entertained.
Of course, no doubt about it. Now, when did you make the decision that you wanted to become an actor? When did that happen?
That happened actually really young. My parents were both musicians, and when I was this tall, if you can see, my parents were on the road, and I remember sleeping in my dad's guitar case backstage while they were performing. So I kind of grew up around entertainment. So I always had that inkling that I want to go in that direction. And, of course I did drama in high school. And then by the time I got to college, I actually started as a engineering major. I was going to go to Caltech. I went to Occidental College, and I got accepted into their what they call a 3-2 program. You get your master's in 5 years for engineering. And about halfway through my second semester, I switched back to theater and film, and I've stayed in that direction ever since. And don't regret it.
Wow, that is truly amazing. So being an actor, all this kind of wonderful things that go into it, it runs in the family.
Yes, yeah, definitely performance. All my siblings, play instruments, have done some art. I'm the only one that's pursuing acting, in the family, or filmmaking in the family, but everybody, we all had a lot of artistic pursuits.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. Now, I was running through something known as your IMDb page, and I'm just curious. How was it being a part of such projects, or should I say such movies as Bedazzled, I believe it was, from the year 2013 going on 30? Any thoughts on those two?
Bedazzled and 13 going on 30 were actually some really great things to work on. Bedazzled was really a fun, actually. I got hired to play an NBA basketball player because Brendan Fraser, as you know, turns into this superstar, and so he's like 6'2", I think, something like that, and he's supposed to be gigantic in the film. So they hired a bunch of people my height, 5'10", to play other players, and so we had to actually rehearse for about a month to learn doing movement coaching to kind of move as if we were 6'4", 6'8", tall. And so when we shot the film, they actually shrunk the basketball hoops down. So all of us 5'10" people were having fun dunking, pretending we're badasses when I definitely was not. I mean, I could barely dribble the basketball when I got cast, and I had to work on my skill. And actually, as a matter of fact, I was like the laughing stock of the audition process, because we showed up in this gymnasium. These ballers were coming in, doing this fancy stuff. I mean, these guys played basketball, street ball. Some of them played for college, and they're trying to show off. And I'm like, come up and do a layup. And I'm wearing these like track shorts, which are short shorts, and this tank top. So I just look like a total nerd. And so people are kind of like chuckling, but it ended up drawing attention to me. So the casting people were like kind of eyeballing me because I was drawing so much attention, not for the right reasons, unfortunately, but but as it turns out, they start pairing us off with a real basketball player who's super tall, and they're like picking people. It's like getting picked for a team, and we're sitting in the bleachers, and they're like, okay, you come on down, and people are like, yay, okay, yeah, you come on down, and it gets down to the last person. So yes, I was the last person picked, and I'm sitting there, and he looks, and I kind of stand up. I'm like, hey, I've been working hard for this audition today. I didn't say that, but I was thinking that, and he's like, yeah, okay, why not? And people like, start like erupted in applause, because they're like, this is the last guy you think they'd pick, and then so they pair us up with some our counterpart who's taller, and he makes this joke, hey, it's mini me, so that kind of sealed the deal for them, and I ended up getting that role. And shooting wise is way different than what you're going to see for the foreseeable future. We had 1,000 background that they brought in. We shot at the Great Western Forum here in Los Angeles, and they brought in 1,000 background to be crowd, and we're on the actual court, and I'm just looking around with like this crowd of people, and then like 2,000 cardboard cutouts to fill out the rest, So it was actually really amazing. And all the basketball stuff there, the thing with the audition process is they said, look, you don't have to be like a great basketball player per se, because we're going to be teaching you certain plays, and it's all going to be choreographed. So that's kind of how I made it through the cut there. And that month of rehearsal gave me enough time to, hit the gym every day and practice, and kind of at least get more comfortable handling the ball before I completely embarrass myself on set.
Oh my goodness, that is really amazing. Did you get a chance to speak with Brendan or Elizabeth Hurley at the time?
I spoke with Brendan because we're in the scene. So he's a really nice guy, by the way. I've actually worked on a couple productions I think I was on. I was a background on, I think, Monkey Bone. If
okay.
what it's called.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
another
was,
one of his films. Yeah.
yeah, that was my first kind of first time meeting him, briefly, because background, you try to you don't want to come up
Sure.
and crowd the cast, but on Bedazzled, it was you're cool, you're one of the in crowds, so you're there and you're working with the director and the choreographer, and it's a lot of fun.
All right. Did you
Yeah.
get a chance to squeeze in a few words with the lovely Elizabeth Hurley, who was on the
No.
court as a cheerleader, I believe?
She was, but no, I think she made a brief appearance, but we really didn't get a chance to interact, unfortunately.
Nah, it's all good. Just thought I'd ask the question.
Oh no,
And-
no, and a big fan of hers too. I mean, of course, everybody's she's beautiful, beautiful person, very talented person, but also just a fan of her work at the time. So. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any fun stories from the set of 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, that's another kind of an interesting way about how that happened. 13 Going on 30, I was actually hired as Mark Ruffalo's stand-in.
Oh, wow.
So and I have another story with Mark Ruffalo that goes back before that, which is kind of an actor struggling story, but I'll get into that in a second.
Sure.
But I was hired as Mark Ruffalo's stand-in, and so went through most of filming in that role, and then we got down to the scene that I ended up being in, which is the night out. Jenna Rink goes out on the first night on a town as a new 30-year-old. And goes to the party, and that whole thing happens, and I'm the guy, that she throws pineapple in my drink, and she throws a piece of shrimp and it hits me, and I think
okay.
I think they called me Shrimp Guy or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, but that was the pineapple and the shrimp happened in the same scene, but they were shot like a month apart, because
Oh my gosh.
the shrimp happened on the day. Like, I walked through and I'm there on set, and a stand is like, okay, you're going to do this part. So it's a little featured bit, right? Oh, like, perfect. All right, put me in, coach. Come on. So they put me in, and we do the little bit. She's walking through the scene, and she takes this, shrimp cocktail and tosses it over her shoulder, and it hits me, and I'm like, oh, what the hell, So ha ha ha. And then later in reshoots, one of the executives says, hey, because she takes a bite of her pineapple and throws it off the balcony, and they're like, the executives say, hey, it'd be great if it landed in someone's drink. And they're like, oh, let's make it the same guy. So they called me back in for this, to continue this bit. And the reason I know about this is because they talk about it on the DVD making of, like the behind the scenes.
Sure.
And they actually like, oh yeah, that's his stand-in and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, thanks for the shout out, guys, Yeah. So that was shot on different times. And anyway, the thing I'll say about Mark Ruffalo is he remembered me from an encounter years ago, prior to working from him. And that remembrance was the time that I was sleeping in my car in front of his house.
Oh
So
my.
here's that story. Early on out of college, I struggled a little bit, and there was a troublesome period where, I decided to sleep in my car so I could catch up on bills. I owed, my orthodontist, I owed my acting coach. I had credit card debt run up. I'm just like, I need to get ahead of this stuff. So I'm like, I'm going to just not pay rent. So I stayed in my car for a couple months, and I couch surfed on my friend, with my friends, and I paid off all that debt and got back into my own place eventually. But during that time, I did a lot of couch surfing. And at the time, one of my friends happened to be sharing. He was renting an apartment in the same house that Mark and his wife were living. They had a downstairs studio, and he had an upstairs studio. And so I was couch surfing and staying at my friend's house, and I come home from a set late at night, and he was a bartender at the time and was out working, and I couldn't get in the house. So I just like fell asleep in my car out front. And so Mark Ruffalo comes home late at night and sees me there. And so he goes up and knocks on my friend's door. He's like, "Hey, your friend's downstairs." I'm like, "Oh shit." So he comes and wakes me up, and, so Mark had remembered that when I got on set. I'm like, yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. But I got to say, but a little note about that struggle, that actually ended up being one of my most productive times. And as a matter of fact, it was less than a year later, I had a Super Bowl commercial. I was starring in SS Doom Trooper. I was being flown to Europe for a month to shoot this movie. I mean, I literally went from my bottom to living my dream, all in the course of, 8 months, maybe 8 months to 12 months.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That is, there's not too many words I can use because I'm just I'm a little bit flabbergasted. That's amazing, man. You get to see all these different faces and work with all these different people, and you came, through these you worked with these people in different circles in different ways. That is couch surfing. I haven't heard that term in a long time. So
yeah,
thanks for making us feel so young here on the show here at Neuroculture. We do appreciate that. But thank you for sharing that with us. That is truly amazing about those two different movies, and of course, crossing paths again with Mark Ruffalo and all that jazz. That's really good stuff. There's no doubt about it. Now, what is it that you think you would enjoy? What do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy working in front of the camera or behind the camera more? What would you say to that?
I get asked that all the time from my wife because I go back and forth. She's like, "Which one do you prefer?" I'm like, "Well, I really actually enjoy both." I mean, I started off in front of the camera, and I still pursue. And as a matter of fact, here's the deal: I make films so that I can cast myself in them. That's one of my motivations. Okay, so. So that as you can kind of see, but I actually really enjoy the filmmaking process, and right out of college, when I graduated from Oxy, I was looking into going to AFI for my master's degree in cinematography. So I was geared to kind of do that, and then I decided, no, I don't want to add another $30,000 to my student debt. So I didn't do that, but I, started acting and got, did outside of college, went to, Hollywood acting schools. And that's my pursuit. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, I feel like I want to kind of start creating some opportunity for myself. And I, kind of went back to some filmmaking that I learned in college and started doing that again. We started doing short films, and then we, grew from there. And I really equally enjoy both processes. But like I said, if I had to put an edge over one, I'd say acting, because again, I'm always looking to put myself in whatever I'm filming. So I have to say that's my priority. I mean, that's a really long-winded answer for I prefer acting.
No, that's it's no problem. We do appreciate the explanation as to why you would pick one, maybe just pick a little bit more so of one side over the other.
Yes.
So yeah, it's no problem at all. And I want to take this opportunity to let our audience know, for those of you who are watching this live, we do appreciate it. If you have any questions for our guest, James Pomichter, as we go throughout the course of the show, leave them in the live chat. I've been monitoring it. I'm enjoying looking at these comments, and a few of you have brought up some questions. I'm going to bring those up as soon as I can. Before we get to our next question with James, we would like to share this with you.
What was it you promised your old man?
Never give up. Do something they'll never forget. I'm afraid I am a coward. I'm sorry for everything.
Peg,
This is my
you'll
moment.
be missed.
If I had done this a long time ago,
A true movie-land tragedy.
it would have saved a lot of pain.
Peg Entwistle, known for her spectacular Broadway performances and a promising movie career, is gone.
They'll never forget this.
Gives me chills every time.
My goodness gracious. So the question that everyone wants to hear the answer to is simply this. What was the experience like making Hollywood Girl, the Peg Entwistle Story?
It was my best independent filmmaking experience to this date. It was a lot of work. It was a labor of love for all of us. And we did it, on a shoestring budget for a short film. But we had a lot of talented people involved. And I got to say, I would do it all over again. Even with the amount of work and that went into post-production, learning everything that I did, which I can talk about, I would go through that again because it was so rewarding, and we're so happy with the story that we completed. And as a filmmaker, I'm so picky, and I'll look at it and I'll pick stuff apart, and I'll be like, oh, I would change this to that, or I'd do that better. But overall, I think we put together a really great story. I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish, and also what everyone else brought to the table. Laura Ligori did a fantastic job as Peg Entwistle. She actually helped us bring in some really great other cast members. We got Will Rothar from Battle LA, his father, Michael Rothar. He was a Nutty Professor too. We got Dan Reardon, the voice of Megatron, as the radio announcer. You heard that in that trailer. Maureen Teefy, she's in the film. So I got to direct some pretty established actors, which was really great. As an independent filmmaker, it's great when you have a chance to actually, direct someone that you feel is above your peer level at the time. And so to have some actors that have been on some blockbuster stuff is great. And amazing experience. And I might add, there's a few other things that go along with this. We had, some very obsessed fans. We had a few run-ins with the ghost. And I caught an EVP on tape, and it made it into the final cut of the film. I left it in on purpose. So this is nerd culture, so we should all understand what EVP stands for. But just in case, electronic voice phenomenon. So you're out there filming, and later you play back the tape, and you hear voices on the tape that weren't there when you were recording. And so I caught one of those. And I guess I'll just get into that because I'm sure you're wondering what it is and where it's at.
No, I've heard the term electronic voice phenomena. I believe it was a 2005 film, White Noise, starring Batman himself, Michael Keaton.
Oh, yeah.
Thank for that, because they made that, and then they made a not connected at all sequel called White Noise 2 with Nathan Fillion.
Right.
And I believe, who else was in that? The Starbuck, what's her name? From Battlestar Galactica. No, it wasn't her. It was somebody else. Doggone it. Can't remember the person's name. It's killing me.
Somebody in the chat better chime in and
whoever that girl was in Longmire is. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on her name? But anyway. So
this
wow, you heard
me,
voices when you were filming up there?
Yeah. And by the way, Ghost Hunter is another one of my favorite shows. Ghost Hunters,
Ghost Hunters. Okay.
Yeah, Ghost Hunters. Yeah, it's But anyway, yeah. So the voice. So there's a voice. I think it was the last few days of shooting. We were shooting in the theater, and we had rented this old, it was actually a theater at an elementary school in Woodland Hills. It was fairly old, but every theater has its ghost, right? I mean, that's kind of the theater tradition. It's like they're all haunted by someone.
Yeah.
So we're shooting and that's the day where we had Will Rothar, we had Michael Teefy. My dad played a role. I brought my dad in. We brought him in from Arizona, put him in the film, and my mom came out and she wanted to help, so she ended up being the wardrobe I think she did wardrobe for the day. She's like, I want to do something. Okay, do this. Because we had a skeleton crew. It was me. The film crew was me and a sound guy, you know.
Wow.
So I'm trying to set up lights and run the camera and direct people, and then also in some cases be in the scene and direct myself, you know. And on those days we brought in a couple extra camera people to help out, but for the most shot it was like a one, you know, kind of a two-man crew. So I mean, kind of, I digress here, but so we go back and I'm editing and I'm going through the take, and it's the opening shot of the film. Peg Entwistle is sitting in front of her mirror, and she's getting ready to go on stage, and she gets up and she walks out through a curtain to go into the backstage area, and right as she's passing through the door, you hear, "Don't go in there." I'm like, whoa. I mean, it's really distinct. Don't go in there. And then there's like something else, and it sounds like someone's name. And I thought at the time it was my wife's name. Don't go in there, Veronica, you know, because she was, you know, running sound for us at the time.
Oh my goodness.
And so she's like, that's not my name. That's not me. Shut up. So I'm like, okay, it's not you, but definitely don't go in there. And everyone's like, wow, that's crazy. And I was trying to figure out, like, you know, where it came from. Don't know. So, you know, I go through in post-production, I go through and, you know, you clean up all the audio track, you remove noises that aren't supposed to be there. Someone's in the background and they knock something over. Obviously you don't want that in your film. But that, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to leave this in because of the legacy of Peg Entwistle and the legend of her haunting the Hollywood sign and all this. I think this would be really fun to have this phenomenon in the film. So it's literally, like I said, it's 20 seconds into the film when it comes up. Now it's covered with music, so you can't hear it as clearly. But if you listen carefully, right as she walks through the door, you can kind of still faintly hear, "Don't go in there," which, you know, however you want to, you know, place meaning behind that. But I wouldn't say that necessarily was her ghost, but who knows? I mean, to build on this kind of ghost story, and if you guys get a chance to speak with Laura Ligori, who played Peg, you have to ask her to tell you her ghost story, because she had a poltergeist in her house during the filming of this. And I believe she actually brought someone in to exorcise her apartment. You'll have to confirm that with her. You'll have to confirm
I will have to add this to the show notes, because we were actually going to be speaking with Laura tomorrow on the show. So I'm going to have to bring, thank you for giving me the tip. I will have to add that to my notes. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And so given that, we had a ghost, you know, that kind of hung out with us for the production. There were some people that, you know, there's a lot of really devoted fans of Peg Entwistle, especially here in LA, because she's part of this Hollywood history. So there were people that were just very excited with the production as we're shooting, and we had a lot of, you know, people anticipating, when's this going to be out? And so it was kind of like, we're doing it for ourselves, but we felt like we're also doing it for this community of people that are really into Hollywood history. So we kind of put that on our shoulders as well. Like we want to do a good job, and we want to tell a story that puts her in a good light, that where you feel empathy for her. I mean, she committed suicide, and, you know, this film is more of a cautionary tale about, you know, just kind of in those times of despair, finding a way to hold on. You know, her Peg Entwistle, as the legend goes, you know, a day or two after she committed suicide, you know, allegedly she received a telegram offering her a part in a play in which she commits suicide. So that's kind of the Hollywood folklore that's built up around her story. And so, you know, my kind of my take on the story and the meaning behind this for me was like really about just, you know, hold on for one more day, you know. And so that's what I wanted to kind of portray with this story, is just hold on for one more day, because good news is around the corner. And that also kind of, you know, just reminds me of when I was going through a lot of I mean, I didn't get like suicidal or anything like that, obviously, but I just remember when I was going through my hardships, how much better things got, like immediately following that, because of the mindset that I put myself into. And you put yourself into a positive mindset when you're down, you come out better when you're in a better place. So that's the meaning behind the film for me.
Wow, absolutely. We can certainly agree. We can certainly agree with that. Now, moving forward a little bit here, are there any actors or directors that you hope to work with somewhere down the line in the future?
Yeah, all of them.
It's probably a long list, but if you had to, pick a few out of the bag here, what would you say? Are there any actors, directors you would want to work with if you had to pick like 2 or 3?
Yeah, I would. My gosh, directors, definitely would want to do like work Peter Jackson. I'd love to work with Tarantino on his thing. I mean, all the greats. I mean, you can mention any director. I mean, this kind of goes without saying. You'd love to work with any of them, but in particular, I think it would be really great to work on Coen Brothers film. Meet those guys. I really love the old brother, Where Art Thou, Lady Killers kind of comedy area of that. Acting wise, yeah, I mean, yeah. Mark Ruffalo, I'd love to work with him again.
Get the friendship, get the friends back together.
Yeah. I work with. I got a chance to work with Harrison Ford, and that was great. But who else would I? It's like I'm trying to like single someone out, and it's really hard because as an aspiring, artist and filmmaker. I mean, anyone that is on that level, you're going to be happy to work with. And I know that's too generic of a way to answer the question, but I mean, yeah, I think I would actually enjoy. Oh my gosh, because you're on the spot, and my mind goes blank. Yeah. But Gary Oldman, I would really
Commissioner
love to work
Gordon
with Gary
himself.
Oldman. Yes, yeah, he would be one of my top choices. Ian McKellen would be
Magneto.
One of my Actually, I study his acting closely all the time for his camera technique. He is really great at subtlety of his eye movements, everything.
Fascinating.
You see some of that in the Lord of the Rings. He's got a lot of close-ups where he's doing stuff with his eyes.
Sure, as Gandalf, yeah.
Yeah, Gandalf, and then in Magneto, there's actually one shot in I think it's X-Men 2.
X-Men United, yeah.
Yeah, is that the one where he's raising the Golden Gate Bridge?
Oh well, that'll actually be X-Men 3, The Last Stand.
Oh, 3. See, I get there's so many too. You get lost in that.
There's a lot of movies in certain franchises, but don't worry, that's why I'm here to help. But yeah, that would be X3 or The Last Stand, yeah.
Yeah, as an actor, for some reason, that shot where he lands the Golden Gate and then it kind of pushes in on him, there's that moment there as an actor. I watched that clip, and I'm always inspired by that for just the way how he is in that moment. And I don't know if I can put a finger on it now. Maybe it's just the physicality of what he's doing. But that shot, I always come back to that shot when I'm thinking about camera technique as an actor for some reason. I'm gonna have to figure this out.
That's cool. It's fascinating. I respect that 100%. Not a lot of people like to bring up X-Men 3 because that's one of those films everyone likes to forget. But you know what? Look,
it's
I did
about
a rewatch.
Moments.
Yeah, I did a rewatch of it recently. Do I think it's as good as I remember it? No, but I still have some certain parts, and there are certain themes in that movie that are really important to speak on. So I applaud what they did in certain pieces of the film, maybe not all of it as a whole.
Right.
But there are certain parts that do stand out to me as well as James over here. So we'll give you X3. We'll give you a break.
So give us some little bits here. Give little bits.
Yeah, it's not a problem at all. But those are good names to potentially work with when it comes to actors and/or directors somewhere down the line. Fascinating stuff. Now, what would you say have been some of the rewards and/or challenges of working in the film industry?
Well, it's a tough business to work in, and you really have to. We have a line in Hollywood Girl. my God, I'm forgetting my own writing here for a second. You have to have, so someone in the chat, you have to have a lot of grit. You got to stick. You got to stick with it. It can be very rewarding and it can be very frustrating because you feel like you work hard and you feel like you deserve the world for the hard work that you want to put into this, but it's so hard to kind of break in. And there's a saying, like, if you become overnight success is 10 years, you're an overnight success if you do it in 10 years. For me, it was 6 years before I kind of made a break and I got, I got the Super Bowl commercial and I got this film, which is weird because I kind of did it in reverse. Like, you would think that working, you get a little bit role, then you get a little bit bigger role, and you get a little bit bigger, and you kind of build on that. Well, I had a couple little things, right? But then suddenly my first like break was a Super Bowl commercial playing Spider-Man and a lead role for the Sci-Fi Channel. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this, but that's not a story of challenge. That's a story of like, that's kind of the opposite of your question. But I would say just the time it takes to really feel like you're starting to make progress, for most people, I would say takes longer than you would expect when you first start out. And so you have to learn to think of things in the long haul. You have to be in it for the long haul. People come out here with a 2-year plan and they're gone in 2 years. People that come out here with a 10-year plan, they're still here and they're making progress. And that for me is the biggest challenge, is to just keep at it, despite like they say, every time you get a no, you're closer to getting a yes, and you get a lot of no's, and that is the hardest thing sometimes to deal with.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now we are going to turn things over to you. For those of you who are watching this at home, we have a few questions here for you from our good friends in the chat. Real quick, hanging with Web Show Web TV, that would be Garrett, Sage, Dina, everybody else, that family. They say, Ryan, you got to ask him about SS Doom Troopers. Now, what exactly is SS Doom Troopers? Without going into too many details, can you tell us what that is all about?
SS Doom Trooper is a sci-fi original movie. Stars Corin Nemec, myself, Ben Cross, Harry Van Gorkum, Marianne Feeley, and it's a film. It takes place World War II. So American soldiers, we call it the Dirty Half Dozen, are sent into occupied France to take out a secret German weapons lab, and we'd come to discover that they've created a super soldier, and so we're fighting that. That's the project I referred to, where I was like living for the first time. I felt like I was living my dream. We shot in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria.
Wow.
And a little bit of trivia about Bulgaria is like they got the hell bombed out of them in World War II, and they never rebuilt. They just built around everything. And so we're shooting in these craters from bombs and like blown out factories. That was all real. They didn't build any of that. Those were left over from World War II. They never rebuilt. So we had caution tape around these areas, like, don't fall in that hole over there, So yeah, one of the great times of my life for sure is working on that film. And by the way,
I'm gonna have to check that out one of these days.
Yeah, my character, I'm Private Parker Lewis, and it's kind of a nod to Corin Nemec, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And that came from the execs at Sci-Fi Channel. The producers were like, you know what, let's change his character. It'd be funny if we change his name to Parker Lewis. And then I have a line in the film where I say, I just can't win, as I jump out of a plane. So you can watch. That's available on demand right now. You can.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a Sci-Fi Channel original.
Okay, all right. SS Doom Troopers.
It's a good fun film. Like, their movies of the week are a lot of fun, and I think we nerds can appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have to check it out one of these days. Hanging with Web TV. This isn't more of a question; it's more of a statement, just to be a little bit more specific from your IMDb page. They say IMDb, you're labeled as guy hit by shrimp. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, they called me Shrimp Guy on set, and then that's what ended up on IMDb. Guy hit by shrimp.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And Brian here has a question for you. He says, "What is the best advice someone has given you that you've implemented into your work and or life?"
Don't half-ass it. That's kind of a worth ethic that I got growing up. That come from my family, my parents. You know, if you're going to do something, commit to it. You know, do it to the best of your ability. And so I've kind of adopted that as my motto. Don't half-ass it. So if you're gonna, you know, I don't care what you're doing. If you're shooting something, if you're shooting a zero budget project, don't half-ass it. If you're shooting a huge, you know, studio back project, don't half-ass it because you don't want to get fired. So, so that's it. I mean, really, just when you commit to doing something, really think about why you're doing it and give it your 100%. I mean, you can give multiple things 100% at the same time in your life. I mean, it's you can give 100. If you have 2 kids, you can give 100% to each kid. If you have a couple projects, you can figure out how to give 100%. But that's the goal that I live by, is to try to do the best I can.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. Gregory Lee, one of our team members from Neuroculture, he has a wonderful question here. He says, "What would you say is the most challenging thing about getting started in the film industry?"
Yeah, getting started is if you're starting from nowhere, it's the hardest thing because you don't know where to start. Like, do I go to an acting class? Where are you? I think the best thing to do, to answer the question, the hardest thing about starting is knowing where to start. Mm-hmm. That for me was trying to figure out how do I get started? Because I was in college and studying theater and film, but that's still in a educational environment. Now, once you leave, okay, now how do I get on that movie over there, right? So that's the hardest thing, and I think the best thing to do is to surround yourself with like-minded people, especially with people who've already gotten a little bit of a start and that can offer advice. And that's kind of what I did. I got into started doing background work just to get on set, mm-hmm. to kind of learn and understand like the different types of people that you work with. I mean, in terms of like crew positions and figuring out how as an actor to get an agent, was like, oh, what do I do? Okay, I start sending headshots to all the different agencies and no one calls, and it's like, okay, now how do I get on their radar? And that's figuring out where to begin, and having a strategy is probably the best thing to do, is to build a strategy of, okay, I'm going to get access to these certain people like this. Okay, I'm gonna go register with Central Casting, and I'm gonna try to get on set and meet some. Look, even if you want to be a camera person, if you want to be a DP or something, getting on set in any way you can is an opportunity to learn and observe. And so that's how I started, and that's where that was my biggest challenge, that to kind of break through in that. And then from there you start getting, you start hearing of other things you can do, and hey, try to do this thing or that. I know I'm kind of going really long-winded on this, but that was it for me. It was like, I want to do this, but how do I even start? I think being in school was a big a factor, because I know a lot of people that just came out here from all over the world, straight out of high school, and just started trying to work in the industry, and they go through a lot of hardship because it's really expensive to live in LA. So you're trying to work in a field where it's hard to get work. And so you have a day job while you're trying to get paid for doing the work you love. And it's a struggle. And I was fortunate enough to have 4 years of college out here to kind of get used to everything, to kind of get the layout of the land. And so that for me was a nice transition, so that I felt like I can kind of hit the ground running right out of college. Even though, like I said, how do I start? So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I gotcha. I gotcha. A few more questions here, and unfortunately, we're running a little short on time, so we're gonna have to try to kind of do this a little bit rapid fire
I'll
here,
try to
James.
get
I
more
apologize.
That's fine. I'll try to get more succinct answers here.
Yeah, this will maybe put you to the test a little bit, but we're going to kind of do
Yeah.
these here rapid fire. So, ladies and gentlemen, our next question comes from Brian once again. He says, who are your director influences and some of your actor influences?
Director influences, for sure. Well, Steven Spielberg is obviously Indiana Jones, one of my favorite films. So George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, that, they did Star Wars and they're a big influence. Peter Jackson has been a big influence through the Lord of the Rings. Woody Allen has been an influence in terms of independent. When we're shooting independent film, I often think, let's go Woody Allen with this, because he has a way to write characters that are very interesting, and also shoot a scene so simply. It's just like a camera shot. It's a camera with two people talking, but you're engaged the whole time. And so when I'm working on a indie film, I try to remember that is like, I got to make this interesting with little. So I'd say Woody Allen and his filmmaking style has been a big influence as an independent filmmaker.
All right. Totally dig it. Totally dig it. Now, once again, man, Brian, you're just firing away with these questions, my friend. I got to tell you got some good ones here. There's no question about it. If there was one film in history that you could be in, what movie would that be?
Probably Indiana Jones.
Yeah, which one? There's like 4 of them. Well, people like to say the 4th one never happened, and that's fine. But if you had to pick any of them, which one would you want to throw your hat into? No puns intended.
Original. Yeah, it'd be the original. I mean, that for me, that's the ultimate action adventure film. So I would want to be in that. I would love to be in The Mummy, the original Mummy. That would have been a lot of fun. I mean, these are like fun films. This is like I think I would have the most fun on this. And that would be action adventure.
Mm-hmm. Now, with The Mummy, are you referring to 1999 with Brendan Fraser, or the original with Boris Karloff?
Brendan Fraser's.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was like, where are you going with this? Because there's a few different mummies out there.
Yeah, I didn't think about like historically, like even old films. I haven't really thought about that. Yeah.
Well,
it'll take too much time.
Yeah. No. It's okay. You can think about it and then discuss it, either off camera. You can send me a message. No worries.
I would probably choose an Alfred Hitchcock film. I would probably choose maybe something like Rope or Rope or Rear Window. I would choose one of those because those. Yeah, you know what? That is also another big influence of mine. To go back to the other question, Alfred Hitchcock's Rope is a huge influence because our other feature film that we shot, Love, Lust, and Room Key, was originally intended to shoot as a one-take film. It was a feature film, but it was supposed to be a one-take film, and it was going to be shot like Rope. Now, it ended up being more of a traditional shoot and what it morphed into, but that was my original inspiration. So I should put myself in Rope just so I can have that experience.
Real quick, my favorite Hitchcock film, at least of the ones that I've seen up to this point, I haven't seen all of them yet. Rope is one of them I haven't seen yet, but of the ones that I have seen, Rear Window is my favorite.
Yeah.
So no worries there with that one. I'll tell you that. Jeez, Brian, where are you coming up with these questions, dude? What are your thoughts on using Kickstarter as an indie filmmaker?
Well, we used it for Hollywood Girl. There's two of them. There's Kickstarter and there's Indiegogo. We used Indiegogo, but using crowdfunding for independent film, I think is really good because you kind of build an audience at the start. So you've got people that are willing to chip in because they want to see your project come to light, but then they're also waiting to see it, right? So you kind of starting with a crowdfunding is a good way to kind of get some buzz going for your project in the first place, and also help raise some funds. And I think now, don't they offer equity fundraising now? Like you can actually, there's laws about raising capital, but they worked out a way that you can actually, I think you can give people equity in your project, raising money through them. I don't know. I haven't done that, but but yeah, so we used crowdfunding partially for Hollywood Girl. The rest of it, we put up the money ourselves, but we got partial funding through like that. So I think it's a good tool.
Yeah, right on, right on, right on. Now, as we get towards the end of the show here, any upcoming projects that you can tell us about?
Yes, I am. As you see here, I'm actually running some experiments at home with virtual production.
Oh.
It's how they shoot The Mandalorian. They've got LED walls, and it's a virtual set, and it's all real-time composited. And so I've got kind of a do-it-yourself system set up here that I'm getting ready to use for my next film, which is going to be called Fed to the Dead. And I'm getting into the zombie culture because again, I've been into Walking Dead and stuff. So I'm like, I got to do a project in this field. So this film is it's a story about this couple on vacation get stranded at a roadside bed and breakfast, and they come to discover that the owners are feeding their guests to a zombie in the basement. That's the basic premise. So that's what we're working on right now. I've got the script ready, and I'm kind of in the pre-production, but also working on some virtual production techniques because I think we're going to shoot a lot of it either. I don't know if I can. We'll see. I may get the virtual wall set up, but I may also shoot a lot of stuff green screen, and so I'm trying to get this, this technology up and working.
All right.
So
we wish you we wish you the best of luck with that. Now, where can everyone find you on social media and all the other projects you have coming up in the near future?
Social media, Facebook, Instagram is J_Pomichter. On Instagram, where my wife, as we speak, is actually kind of helping me with that. She's going to be working with me to help build that profile, and we're going to be putting up some clips. We're gonna see if we can get Hollywood Girl on Instagram as well. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it there. You can watch it on YouTube, and we're gonna see if we can get the whole film up on Instagram. Because a lot of people we're getting a lot of questions through Instagram now. So follow us there, J_Pomichter.
Absolutely, absolutely. We want to take this opportunity to thank our guest, James Pomichter, for being on our show today here at the interview series of Neuroculture. My name is Ryan. You can follow me and everything that we're doing here on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at It's Neuroculture. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel where all our videos, all these interviews, and all the other great, incredible things we have coming up. We drop videos every week, so check out our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And in the meantime, stay healthy, stay safe, stay strong. Check out Hollywood Girl, the Peg Entwistle Story. You will not regret it. It is a wonderful film made by an amazing team of people. But in the meantime, take care and watch movies.